Brandon writes, "Hey Collider crew, just want to say thanks for giving us the great shows we movie fans love. My question is a two-parter. First, at the end of The Dark World, we see Odin turn into Loki, and I was curious if you have heard anything regarding what happened to Odin. I found an MTV interview with Anthony Hopkins, and he said, quote, 'He's dead. I've done 2. That's enough.' So I was curious your thoughts on this. Thank you for taking my question, and keep up the awesome work."
Despite looking for it, I have not been able to find that Anthony Hopkins video. I'm not saying it's not there. I'm just saying I wasn't able to find it anywhere. But even if he did say that, I don't buy it. It would be completely inconsistent for Marvel in what they've done with Loki so far and how they set him up. If you understand Loki character, even go back to the first Thor movie, everything Loki does is completely motivated by his desire for approval from his father, for approval from Odin. Like everything. Even at the end of that movie, you realize the whole thing about bringing in the Frost Giants was just so he could kill the Frost Giants and look good to his dad. And even like in the last Thor movie, like he talks a whole bunch of crap and everything to his mom, talking all this to his dad. But when it came down to it, bitch, you just killed Loki's mom, and you're gonna pay. And like you saw that even though he's talking all this stuff, his love for his parents is just irrefutable. And that's what makes Loki such a great character in the MCU, is that he's so multidimensional. There's so many layers to him. I find that it would be incredibly lazy and inconsistent if Kevin Feige, and they're way too smart for this, to now suddenly say, oh no, Loki kills his dad. Don't buy it for a second. So that's just my personal belief on it. Schnepp, what do you think?
Yeah, and you know, Anthony Hopkins has already quit the business. I think 3 times he's on record as saying, "This is my last film. I think acting is a joke. It's horrible. I want to live my life." Cut to 2 years later, he's in a movie, and he's a great actor. So I don't mind when actors get weird and they're like, "I'm done. Screw this," and then they go hang out on an island and they're like, "Wait a minute, I miss acting. I'll be Odin." I don't care. I'm like, look, then I get Anthony Hopkins, who's a great actor. He brings that gravitas that you need to be the Allfather, to be Odin. So that he's like, maybe he was in a whiny, bitchy mood that day when somebody interviewed him. He's like, I've done 2. Isn't that enough? What else do they want from me? Oh, a 3rd one. I'll be right there. You know, it's like I don't. You know, he's Odin. Don't worry about it.
You hear the sound of a truck backing up and dumping a bunch of cash. I mean, I'm not as sold as you guys are that you're gonna see him in Ragnarok or in a future Marvel movie, because I mean, again, Tony, as I call him. He sounds pretty adamant. And even though I know that actors, that they go back on their word all the time, but he's Anthony Hopkins, so I tend to take him more at his word. It sounds to me like they just didn't offer him anything yet, but they're going to. Like when that call comes in, there might be a little bit of negotiating. But Loki does have a lot of daddy issues, and if he was never able to please his dad, he might have in a fit of rage seen the only way out is to off his dad and surprise him. So that could come into play. If Ragnarok comes on and Anthony Hopkins isn't in it anywhere, it's not going to upset me. Whatever they throw me, I think I'm probably going to buy it, because it's going to be consistent with what the Marvel Story Group has in. Now, look, that may not play out with the Loki character we know so far, but I think if they can't get Anthony Hopkins back, or they don't want him in the movie, they're going to explain it well enough to where we're going to buy it as an audience.
No, I completely agree with you. I think they're going to find a way to explain everything and all that kind of stuff. And let's not confuse, though, me saying that I do not believe at all for a second that Loki killed Odin. Don't confuse I was saying that I think Anthony Hopkins will necessarily be back. That you don't necessarily have to see Odin again, and if they do see Odin, it doesn't necessarily have to be Anthony Hopkins. They have, even just in the Thor series itself, they have changed actors.
Sure. Fandral is a different guy now.
So, I mean, it really wouldn't be that big of a stretch. The other thing that makes me really, really seriously doubt killing Odin, the death of Odin is a major deal.
Right.
That would be a huge major. You don't do that with a throwaway end of the movie cutscene.
But you could open with a funeral. The next,
it still seems like a really
cheating
missed
the audience, man. I would recast Odin before I would do something like that. I would get Hagrid or whoever, some other giant dude. You know what I mean?
There's Odin starring
some other
Hagrid.
giant.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, look, he's got a beard, eye patches, I barely see his face. You know, it's like keep far shots. Do like the Bela Lugosi Plan 9 from Outer Space. Just kidding. That's not going to happen. Anthony Hopkins is going to be back as Odin. That's, I guarantee you. There's no way. He's just one of these flippy. He's like that weird sniffy actor. He's like, I'm done with this. All right, I'll do it.
I don't know why I'm saying this, because I don't believe. But you know what might be an interesting replacement for Anthony Hopkins as Odin? And I want Anthony Hopkins back. Make no mistake. Rutger Hauer. as
Not bad.
That's
would
pretty
be
good.
pretty interesting.
I was going to say Rick Moranis, but I like the Rutger Hauer call better. We talked about Rick Moranis last week. We want him back in movies.
Right.
Any role he can get it to him.
Yeah.
All right, what's
but
next?
Rick Moranis would be weird. He's like, why a sequel? I don't understand why you want me. It's like, dude, what's wrong with you? You know, it's like, you keep saying you want to be back in films. I know, but it's a third movie already.